everybody, Brian and Bear here to talk to you about wall corner pie cut assembly. So Conestoga has several versions of this. One has 2-tier. We also have this single opening one. Premise is all the same. It's a corner pie cut cabinet where you're going to have two bifold doors, two doors which bifold in the middle using a hinge, and the two doors fold out of the way using a 170-degree hinge. One thing you'll want to note, I don't think this is something you're going to want to forget, but if you're doing inset, you're going to want to install before you put the frames on. We're going to show you how to put the frames on later in the video. You're going to want to install your inset hinge brackets. There's another video referenced here. You'll see it here in the video below. That'll tell you how to put these on, but you're going to want to put that on before you install or assemble the cabinet. Otherwise, you're reaching inside with a screw gun trying to mount them. Some size things to know about this cabinet. They're available from 24 to 30 in terms of this dimension or this dimension. So, and you can do them asymmetrically. The thing you have to know about the asymmetric or the sizes in general is from 24 to 27, this is going to be 12.5 inches deep. From 27 to 30, it'll be 15.5 inches deep. 27 inches, you can get either 12.5 or 15.5, but if it's just over 27 or just under 27, it's going to be 12.5 or 15.5 accordingly. Check the manual. It'll make more sense when you see it that way. When you do asymmetric, let's say you did this one 27 and this one 30, both sides are going to be 15.5. You can't have a 12.5 and a 15.5 side. So again, the manual will make it more clear, but that can get you in a little bit of a jam if you order this 27 and all of a sudden your adjacent wall cabinets come in shallower because you got the 15.5 inch deep side. So be aware of that. If you do have a cabinet side where this is going to be 15.5, make sure you order this as a flush end or get a skin if it's a custom species, what have you, because you're going to see the leading 3 inches because your adjacent wall cabinets are back here. So make sure that side is finished, okay? Heights, you can go all the way up to 72 inches high with these. So they're very flexible, give you lots of good storage opportunity, opens that corner up a lot for you. People seem to be using these more than diagonal corner cabinets because diagonal cabinets are so deep, it's very hard to reach things in the back. You lose canned goods back there or whatever. This is a little more accessible for you. And again, this one, when you see the assembly, you'll understand you can put the shelves in after the assembly, unlike a base corner pie cut. So let's get started with the assembly and show you how this goes together. Okay, everybody, let's get started with the assembly of a wall corner pie cut. You're going to need a second person, so my shop guy, or not my shop guy, but the shop guy, Jeffrey, shop manager, is going to help me with this one. Very difficult to manhandle this with one person, so get yourself a second set of hands. Let's review tools and supplies before we get going. You're going to need it doesn't need to be boss stitch, but it's got to be a stapler, shooting no bigger than an inch and an eighth, maybe an inch and a quarter. Anything longer than that, we don't like it because they start to shank out inside the cabinet. So we like to use an inch and an eighth tops. You can go to inch and a quarter, but last resort. Glue, we like to use Titebond 2. Any Titebond will work. Stay away from Gorilla Glue, that's the foaming kind of glue. You don't want glues getting out onto work surfaces that you can't easily wipe off with water. So Titebond 2 is our favorite. Dead blow or any kind of rubber mallet, we use a 26-ounce dead blow. It's got like beads in it. Just means you don't have to swing so hard. If you want to just get a $4 rubber-headed mallet with a wooden handle at Lowe's, that works fine too. A pencil, because you will be making some marks. For this particular cabinet, not every cabinet, but the corner pie cuts, base and wall, we like to, I'll show you how that works, but we like to make sure the corners are square where the front frames come together. So we have a 1/2 inch chisel. I talked about the pencil, and you got glue, not glue, something to wipe your glue with, a wet rag. So keep a lot of this around and make sure it's not all glued up from your last cabinet. Nice clean wet rag. So let me move this out of the way because we're going to need to get assembling here. Put those where I can grab them. You're going to have a multitude of parts here. We'll inventory it. You're going to get what I'll call cabinet sides. If this is your pie cut cabinet, you're going to have the sides, 2 of them, 2 backs, and a corner strip, which is this little skinny guy here, as well as your top and your bottom, which I've got here. And then you have your 2 front frame pieces. And typically what you should find is one front frame is longer than the other because they kind of railroad together in the corner. They're not the same length because one goes over the other. So we've got both our front frames, and those actually go on last, as opposed to normal cabinet assemblies where we assemble everything into the front frame. This one we assemble the box first and then put the front frame on last. We'll show you why that is that way as we proceed. You'll understand more. So we're going to get started here. Jeffrey and I are going to work together on this. We do one side. He's going to stand the side up. That's right. And we want to make sure our splines are up. Our splines are up. So this is going to slide in this way. So I'm going to glue half the panel rather, starting at the bottom, because in this case I'm sliding this way. So we're going to slide that in. Just let it go till it sits. And now I can get this one. And since I'm sliding down, I did the top half. Slide down. Now we're going to rotate this up. Jeffrey's going to hold it while I move to the front of the table. And same thing, I'm going to start at the bottom and do half and half. And then he's going to work one end, I'm going to work the other. Okay, down we go. So now we've got more or less a cabinet box that can be handled a little bit better. So now we're going to roll the cabinet onto its face. I'll call this the face. We're going to do a 180 rather. Lay it onto its face. Here's where your mallet comes into play. Tap those down. And what we're doing here is we have a dovetail right here. We want to line the bottom of the dovetail, not the top. The bottom of the dovetail lines up with the bottom of this back dado so that when I slide the cabinet backs in, they can nest in this dado. So we have to grab some glue. We're going to glue our dadoed areas on both. And one note while I'm going here, you're going to see some stickers on some of these parts. These stickers identify this side and what it goes to, or this piece and what it goes to. We tend to like to leave these stickers on until the assembly is done, because if you have a damaged part, broken part, mismachined part, you can just take a picture of that and send it to us and we can replace that panel. Once you know the cabinet went together, begin peeling them off. All right, yeah, get organized here. Get that out of my way. Now we have two cabinets backs, I'll call them. And here's the thing you have to know. Little shop dog hair there. There's like a bird's mouth one. It's got a V-groove in it. You can see that. And this side is just a butt edge. The butt edge goes into that area we just glued. The bird's mouth sits up because that corner sets into that bird's mouth. So we want to make sure, in our case, it goes like this, okay? So once again, our trusty glue bottle. Jeffrey, why don't you do that and then I'll hold the panel. So we're going to start at the bottom and work up. You're always going halfway up the panel in the direction you're going to slide it. So we're doing the bottom because we're going to go like this. You in? Yep. And now we just kind of, I think I'm behind you. There we go. Okay, we got a little, right, okay, down. All right, and so what we're looking for is this panel is fully seated in that dado, nice and tight. Now what I'll typically do, roll this up this way, is I'll grab the stapler, and I don't want that panel to move, find the center of that dado, and just put a pin there, and there. We can come back later and fill that in, but now that panel can't slide out of that dado. Let's flip this thing all the way around so our friends can see what's happening here. Okay. Same operation, bird's mouth up, glue halfway. Okay, we got both sides glued. Same operation as before, just line our dovetails up and slide her down. That one didn't fight us so bad sliding in and out, so now we're going to go back up. Jeffrey's going to grab the nailer, put a pin in each corner. And now we can fill the two sides so this thing doesn't go anywhere. So I'm going to take my pencil. We talk about this in all of our assembly videos. Take your pencil. You're going to find the center of this panel. I'll actually work this direction so you can see it better. You're going to find the center of this panel where I already put the staple. Use your finger as a guide. Just hold the pencil steady. It's like your finger becomes a ruler. That is now your scribe line. So I can just go all along this side. and that's held in nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side we already did, and then we can move to put our back corner piece on those bird's mouths. Then we'll come back and do the front frames. Be right back. Okay, we got our cabinet backs on. The last operation for the cabinet box before we put the frame on is this back strip. The bird's mouth does not get glued because you'd be gluing to finished surface, so that's not going to do a thing. All this back strip does is carry a rear shelf pin to hold the rear of the shelf up. So only gets glue here at the top, right along our cabinet top or bottom, however you want to look at the cabinet, and that one. And now we just nest this thing on there like that, give it a good swat, and now we're going to pin all along here, there, and all along here. I'll move here to show you some stuff. We'll get a close-up of this. I'm not sure you can see it in the video, but we have marks right here, little pilot holes. In the olden days, prior to May of 2023, Conestoga used to give you an actual line. The problem was that line was put on the cabinet back as a secondary operation, and sometimes it didn't follow the actual panel inside that dado. And so they begin to do it where they have an actual pilot hole coming through as a part of that machining process. So these little pilot holes are trustworthy. That's the center of that panel. So what you do now is you just pin on either side of those holes. And go all the way up top. And down here I can see my dado, so I know one goes there, and I can see it up here. So that puts you about every 3 or 4 inches. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So you can see, got that one on. I'll do this one out off camera so you're not bored by it. But this one, there's only one hole. I'd probably put 3 pins or brads or staples across. Going to do the same there and on this back panel. Then we'll come back and show you how to put the front frame on. There's a couple little tricks to that I want to walk through with you. Be right back. Okay, we talked about our tools in the beginning. We mentioned a chisel. Now is the time when I like to use that. Let me tip this down and show you. You're going to be nesting these 2 front frames into here. And sometimes this little corner where Conestoga CNC goes through, it doesn't create a perfectly sharp corner. So what I tend to like to do is just take my chisel, and using a chisel always has the beveled part and the flat part. Run the beveled part against the cabinet box, and we just want to press it in one way and press it in the other, just to get that little corner out. It just makes a cleaner installation. It takes 2 seconds, and then the box doesn't fight you so bad. So let me lay this down, because my next operation is to put the front frame on. Remember, in the beginning I mentioned you have 2 front frames and they're dissimilar in length. We want to start with a longer frame. So I'm going to take that, lay that down, got to grab my glue bottle. And as with all of our cabinet assemblies, we have a wide ½ inch, roughly ½ inch dado, and then we have a deeper dado in the bottom that receives the spline. That one's about an 1/8 inch wide. So what we're going to do is put glue on the 2 shoulders on either side of that deeper groove. And we're also going to glue on the outside of this spline groove here where these splines go. That is where this top and bottom panel will contact. So I'm going to glue there. I'm going to glue my shoulders. I'll hold this up when I'm done and show you the finished glue product. Thing with white glue, or wood glue I should call it, is more is not always better. If you put a ton in there, it's just going to squeeze out, actually makes worse of a bond. And just as I said that, I probably put too much on there. Push some of that down the spline groove. So you kind of want to have it coated, but not such a heavy bead that you're going to see it squeeze out everywhere. And now I'm going to flip this over. I lay it into the corner of the cabinet, starting so I got it butted right up against here. And now I can just kind of tap that frame on. Not quite seated there. Now we're on. What you want to do is make sure you're tight. This panel is tight to the inside of that dado. Sometimes the splines get out of alignment. You just got to press them in. Flip this around. Show you the other side. So now you can see I'm nice and tight down in here. I'm going to duplicate that exact process with my second frame. Okay, here's where your rubber mallet comes in. We want to make 100% sure the frame is lined up with the cabinet box, and right now I'm a little proud right here with the cabinet box. So this frame is going to go tapped that way until I like the feel, and I do. That one's dead flush, dead flush. So now your frame is on. The last thing I like to do, you can see right here, these two frames can get racked. So if I was to tip this up and show you, right in here, those two frames are not joined. So what I'm going to do, we get a clamp. We clamp those two so they're at the exact same plane, I'll call it. Now they can't go out of alignment. They're perfectly in line with each other, and I'm going to run a screw drill hole right there, about 1/8 of an inch, and then we're going to get a wood screw and run the wood screw into this frame member through the back of that one. The pre-drill is very important. If you don't pre-drill it, you'll split this piece, and you don't want to torque that the screw down so hard that it countersinks or you're going to crack the wood. So we use a fairly fat-headed screw. I'll show you the ones we use. So this is the screw we use. It's got a Torx head on it. It's about 1 1/4 inches long, and has a pretty fat cap head on it. So when I run that screw in there, it's going to act as a way to keep the screw from countersinking and then splitting the wood. So we take our drill gun. We don't want to go so high or at such an angle that my screw comes out in the face. So starting in the center and angling a little down. There's my pre-drill. I lost my screw already. There he is. Okay. And you want to, sometimes you have to run the screw in and out a couple times till you have a nice tight gap. There we go. Let me lift this up for you. And now you should be able to see I have a nice tight gap in here. I'm dead flush right there. No gap, and it's not going to shake or go out of alignment as we install the cabinet and rack it. That won't come out of alignment on me. So I'll do the same thing up here off camera. You don't need to see that, but that's an assembly of a wall corner pie cut. You want to make sure all your gaps are good, the front frame's not sticking off proud, peel your stickers off, and then make sure you go through the inside of the cabinet, wipe down any excess glue with your wet rag. You don't want that glue drying and creating an unsightly mess on the inside of the cabinet box. But that's a wall corner pie cut assembly. The base Lazy Susan or base corner pie cut assembles very similarly. Big difference is the shelf on the base corner pie cut has to go in before you put these backs on, or you can't fit it through the opening. These ones you can fit the shelves through just fine, so we did not need to put our shelves in first. We can tip them in and lay them in place without a problem. So it's the only real difference between this and the base corner pie cut. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions, call your cabinet coach, 888-211-6482. They can answer any questions. There's other videos that we can shoot you. If you can't quite understand what we did here, we can shoot a detailed video for you here in the shop and get it to you so you can get your cabinet built. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good day.